saying we have different degrees of consciousness. I'm saying if you compare something with some consciousness and one which has zero consciousness, right? I'm saying you can make the distinction that something with zero consciousness, whether it is alive in the sense that, in the biological sense, right, it reproduces, right? Something that is alive without consciousness can be seen as not immoral to kill, right?
But you're giving you authority, where are you pulling that idea from?
Logic.
Well, actually, that's a new idea.
Well,
the idea that you're proposing that personhood is consciousness is very new. It's actually an abortion debate-related definition.
It's not
Prior to
exactly.
abortion, what was the definition of person?
Well, it's philosophical induction, right?
But
You
just
take
like
two entities with only one common factor.
Prior to abortion, what was the definition of person?
It wasn't explicitly agreed upon by all parties.
Right. So if we were in Germany, it was whether you were Aryan or not. If we were in Canada in the 1900s, it was whether you were man or not. So what becomes clear is personhood that involves a definition of personhood that involves functioning or looking a certain way inevitably invites dehumanization of certain individuals.
I don't refute that, but I'm not arguing about that. I'm talking about consciousness, which isn't a matter of how you look or how you act, it's whether you experience.
That is just as arbitrary as sex, skin color, or religion. It's something about someone. The unborn aren't as conscious as you and me because of their age.
Well, it's not as conscious. It's whether they are at all or not.
It's their age.
Like a plant.
Okay, let me give you that they're not at all. Let me just say that they're not at all. Although some of that is dependent on our technology to determine that, right? Because our technology has changed even to determine when the heart begins to beat or everything else. But the point is, even if they are not at all, that doesn't mean we don't value them. It just means that by virtue of their age, they haven't achieved a certain level of development that is the same level we're at. Let me put it to you this way. If someone said to you, I think personhood should be based on the level of development of puberty. Once you have achieved puberty, you should be considered a person. Tell me why that would be wrong.
Because you're basing personhood on the level of development.
Why is that wrong?
Well, it's not, it's a double negative, right? I don't have to justify negative, right? If you believe that consciousness, the ability to experience that around you is the deciding factor in what makes you a rational being, what gives you value above plants and rocks and things like that, and amoebas, right? If you believe that consciousness is what makes us valuable, then the question becomes, at what point does it feed us up consciousness? Because before it does, before it ever does, it is akin to an amoeba or a single
No, okay, and that's where I would say there's a huge difference.
Well, I mean, when it's a zygote, it is exactly a single cell organism.
Difference is inherent capacity versus current capacity.
So then you go
By
potential.
virtue of being human, the unborn have the inherent capacity for consciousness, the ability to communicate and do a whole bunch of things, but by virtue of their age, they can't currently act on that ability, but it is inherent to them by virtue of their species. The amoeba or something else, by virtue of its species, does not have the inherent ability that you and I have, or even that the embryo has. So, by virtue of being human, they have within them the inherent ability for consciousness. They can't act on it based on their age. Now, let me tell you, I think consciousness does matter in some places. If we're talking about the right to vote or the right to drive, there are some rights and abilities that are age-dependent. Based on how developed mentally and physically, only then do we get those certain rights. The question is the right to life something I give or something I recognize by virtue of your existence? If it is something I give, I can also take it away. But if your right to life is recognized by virtue of your existence, Jews are safe, blacks are safe, women are safe, and our children are safe.
But so are plants and rocks, they exist.
They aren't in our species. Again, we can debate bringing plants up, but can't we agree we're all equal? And the only thing we all share in common is human nature. I'll take your question just to give other people.
Yeah, no, there's a continuation for that. You're agreeing that PETA was going over over the top with their chickens or Jews or whatnot, right?
Sure.
What do you believe is the difference between chickens and us? I mean, you're saying there is, of course, a difference, that we have the ability to do these things.
They're not of our species.
Right. But
That's
would you
ridiculous.
recognize other species as being intelligent and then we shouldn't kill them and stuff?
Well, certainly, there are other species that are more intelligent than, let's say chickens. Dolphins inherently are quite.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, I guess more alien species. Like if we found, people from another planet, they came, spaceships, and we go, hey, look, an intelligent being, like we would generally treat them the same as us. If we discriminated against them, we would find the same issues here, right? We would call it a Holocaust if we were to start killing them, if they were to start killing us.
Sure. Valuing other species because, let's say, they're functionally impressive,
Yeah.
doesn't mean we value our own species because of how currently functionally impressive we are. So if I say, yes, let's protect a certain brand of aliens because they can do what I can do, or let's protect dolphins or octopus because they can do some pretty interesting things, just because I value those species based on their function doesn't mean I value my own species based on function. Simply because then you get the mass discrimination we have in history,
Sure.
where people can't function a certain way, and that's what the Nazi euthanasia projects were. You got your mentally disabled, your children, your old people, and not so great. We have to have this sense that I'm going to appreciate everyone who is like me, even if they don't look like me or can act like me.
Yeah.
And that's what babies are, as old people are, etc. So I would say, maybe even if I would protect some of these other species, it doesn't mean I value humans because of how functionally impressive they are. Now, maybe we could say it's how inherently functionally impressive humans are. Humans have abilities other animals don't have. Indeed, this ability for complex conscious thoughts, rational thoughts, being self-aware. And if I value my species because of those abilities, that's what sets me apart, let's say, from the other species. I would say because so much of that within my own species is age-dependent, I'm going to value my peers by their inherent capacity, not their current capacity. And so therefore babies and the unborn get valued by virtue of the inherent capacity for consciousness.
Yeah, and I just wonder, because you're saying, sure, we functionally value other things, like we functionally value chickens and whatnot, right?
Right.
They taste good. But why would we choose some different distinction for humans when we use especially functional for every other species?
Well, if you look at our own species, for example, we're relational, right? Parents to children and to grandparents and to friends. There's this idea that we have and maybe other species have the ability to love. But particularly amongst our own, there is a kinship, there's this ability to love, to care. And so we recognize that through the timeline of a person's life, there's going to be so many degrees of growth and development that our innate sense of loving and caring for our own compels us to say, I'm going to value you by your existence, not your ability, because I know we all go through this circle of life, and we can't all expect it to be fully developed.
Then you're saying that we value us because we have the ability to love, or the potential ability to love, or to have relationships, or to have kinship. It still comes back to some ability that we have then. It's not just the fact that we're human. Because valuing humans for the sake of being human doesn't seem to get us very far.
Well, no, I'm saying by virtue of the fact that we love, and we have the sense that I'm going to recognize my own as valuable by virtue of their existence. My sense, this innate sense of loving the other, not hating the other. I mean, even though humans can be turned into animals, as we see with these, other injustices, by virtue of this innate sense to love, that love tells me I'm going to recognize in the other an inherent value, not because they can love me back, because maybe the child's going to die at birth and never going to love me back in the way someone who's 20 would love me back. But my sense of love says there's something special about my own species, and I'm going to protect them by virtue of their existence, not by virtue of their function, appearance, feelings, etc.
Okay, I'm wondering what that something special is.
I think it's consciousness.
You're saying it's because they have something special.
The consciousness is age, it's age-based.
Yeah, and I'm saying, you're saying it's something special. I wonder what is that something special?
That they are of my species. You can say there are some things we know through intuition. There are some self-evident truths. And the idea that all humans are equal